I've known him for a very, very long time. You know, it's sort of three phases. As a fan of his performances, when Company and the Sathiyas of the world came out, then a fan of his doing things as he wanted to in cinema, choosing the kind of roles that he wanted. And also, that was the Rakta Charitra phase and all, you know, when I was watching that. I had almost felt that he picked up this, you know, mantle of becoming the bhai of Bollywood. And then the other phase, you know, in the last, say, 6 to 8 months, and you know, where the wit of Vivek Oberoi has come forward, he stood his ground against this wasn't just the Bollywood faff show, you know, and that's the reason why today when he's sitting in, I think Vivek Oberoi has elevated himself into a slightly different league. Thanks so much, buddy, for joining me.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say, man. And
but it's the truth.
But it's fascinating to also see, because somebody like you has seen me over the years, known me over the years. Yeah. I look at you more of as a friend than, you know, as a colleague. You know, it's like.
But I did meant these phases in your life, from being the biggest thing that Bollywood had seen at that point of time, to facing your ups and downs, to reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes going into a little bit of wilderness. You have got to look back and constantly assess. You know, sometimes when you sit back and say, you know, I'm going to be saying, which Vivek Oberoi should I choose?
That's a fascinating way to look at it. No, Salil, I don't spend so much time looking back here.
Yeah.
I'm always hungry for the future. You know, I always believe you can't change the past, but you can cast your future. You can say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I want to do. And you set out on that journey. It's a trip, yeah, to watch
but
it
as
happen,
roles,
no?
You know, when you look back, there was a kind of you know, ease that you were able to do the bad boy roles also.
Sure.
Even though your face is very unlike a bad boy.
Thank you.
So, did you ever feel like going back into familiar territory, or during the Lokhandwala phase and all, were you actually saying that, you know, this is a good zone for me to be in?
So I have a problem. Even when something is successful, like I'll give you an example. When I wanted to do Company as my debut film.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this, but my dad was launching me.
Yeah.
Abbas Mustan were writing a script for me. Grateful to them that they thought of, you know, launching me at that point. But I had this big identity crisis, this whole issue of principle, where I said that, look, my dad's my icon. Even though he came from, you know, blue blood, you know, this royal family, because his family frowned upon the world of, you know, cinema.
Performing arts.
So he looked down upon them. He borrowed 400 rupees from his friend and came to Mumbai and wrote his destiny here, yeah, with no backing, with nobody going out there, just on his merit. Yeah? So when Dad told me that he's making this film for me, I at one fine day I just woke up and said, I can't do it. And he said, what's wrong with you? I said, no, I want to struggle. He said, tu pagal ho gaya? I've struggled so that you don't have to struggle. I said, no, because your struggle made you who you are. And I went through a process of struggling for 18 months in this industry, standing outside you know, offices for 10, 12 hours, constantly being told why I can't be an actor, why I can't be, tumhe wo baat nahi hai. You know, being completely discarded like that. And I took all of that. And it only made my resolve stronger. And I never told anybody whose son I was. I never used my last name.
Really?
Yeah, I went through that process. And I remember, Salil, I don't know if I should share this or not, but I heard Ramoji was making Company. I landed up to meet him. And he saw this kid who's just come back from New York, does masters in film, you know, very polished. And he said, yeah, you're not going to work for me because I need this guy who's rugged, rough, you know, bhaigiri, you know, in the slums of Mumbai. I asked him for 15 days. And how people check into a hotel, I checked into a slum. I actually went and lived in a slum. I took a kholi on rent for about 15 days.
In those days,
slept on the floor. There were these huge rats that used to come visit me every night, bigger than cats. I literally had to shower out of bathe out of a drum. There was a big steel drum and there was a magga. The worst was when you had to go to the loo, because you had to stand in line for a Sulabh Sauchalaya, and you realize the meaning of the value of 1 rupee coins at that time, because if you didn't have a buck, you couldn't go in and do your stuff.
Wow.
So that was an experience, and I took pictures of like a day in the life of Chandu Nagre, and I requested for an appointment. I landed up outside his office, and my first victory was when the watchman stopped me, because I was dressed like Chandu, right? So I was dressed in chappals, a dirty trouser, a ripped ganji, a dirty shirt, hair all scruffy, beedi in my mouth, and a bunch of photographs in my hand. And the watchman said, "Kahan ja rahe hain?" So I was like, okay, good, this is good. Then I gave my name, Vivek Anand. He said, "Upar chale jao." And I remember this moment really vividly. I stopped in front of the door. And you know, in those days, you had that tinted glass system where you could see your own reflection, right? And I saw my face and I said, oh crap, my face is looking really fresh. And I looked around and I saw this flower pot outside his office. And I dug my nails into that flower pot, pulled out some matti and like put it all over my face. Wow. And the watchman was just staring, ki ye pagal aadmi kahan se aaya hai? I marched into his office, I kicked the door open in full attitude, puffing my beedi, waltzed into his, swaggered into his office, pulled up the chair, sat on the chair and put my feet right up on his table. And started staring at him, a death stare, straight, looking into his eyes and said, "Hey, topda kya dikhta hai? Photo dekh photo." And I threw the pictures, on the table. And this was me, a struggler, who had seen a year and a half, almost 2 years of constant rejection. I had one opportunity and I wanted to convince the man. And he looked at the photographs, he kept looking at me, and then 10 minutes later he got up and says, "That's the best audition I've ever seen, you're doing my film." I said, are you sure, sir? Are you casting me? Are you sure, sir? He says, "Yes, I'm sure. Why are you asking me?" I said, "I want to say something." He said, "What?" I said, "I'm Mr. Suresh Oberoi's son." So "Why didn't you tell me that before?" So he says, "I wanted to be here on my merit." And I saw a certain, respect in his eyes for that. And to me, that's who I am. I started from there.
The start and then to be able to pull it off also. So there was a lot of that acting blood was rocketing with you.
Yep, Salil, funnily enough.
You like a manner born, yeah?
First, thank you. First day of shooting, I thought I'm out.
Yeah?
Yeah. I thought I'm going to be thrown out of the film. Because my first day of shooting, thoda sa easy scene ho, something chilled. No, it's a confrontation sitting across Ajay Devgan. The Ajay Devgan, this incredible star, not only a star,
very good
phenomenal
actor.
actor. The intensity in the eyes as Malik holding the screen like that, I said, oh my God. And I'm sitting across him and he's saying, "Kaam karega mere liye." And I have to give him attitude and say, "Usi ke liye to aaya hu." All of that whole scene. And how it happened was, 3-4 days before that, one of the principal characters in the film got changed. Last minute they changed the character. I said, oh God. So everybody was scared, So डरा हुआ था मैं. And then that day, everybody else was getting instruction from Ramuji. Listen, just do it like this, do it like that. Not telling me anything. I'm giving a take and he's saying, yeah, okay, next. I said, that's it, he doesn't like my work. He's not spending and wasting any time on me. He's going to cut my stuff out. He's going to reshoot my portion. He's going to get somebody else. I'm done. Yeah. Lunch break. Yeah. I'm standing all by myself. Can't eat. Feeling like, kya hone wala hai? And suddenly he comes up behind me and he looks at me, almost enigmatically, smiles and he says, "If I don't say anything to you, it means I like what you're doing." So I was like, thank God. Yeah, and that was my first day.
Baptism by fire, which...
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, man.
It sort of continued for the industry. As a performer, you've never been faulted. Whether it's an Omkara, whether it's here, like I said, even the Rakta Charitra that I saw obviously the Hindi version of it. You've had some tremendous work, slighted at times, where for reasons way beyond just performances, you haven't got due credit of that. It's very difficult, So a lot of people come to the industry and they say that they want to be like certain people, they want to be a star, they want to be an actor. You've had to sort of balance both worlds on your own.
Yeah.
And in spite of all these performances, still keep looking for work. I've never seen you cry and, feel like, I've known you for a long time, I've never seen you say, bloody hell, yaar, isse zyada aur kya karu main?
There was a time in my life where I was dealing with a very difficult time, Salil, both professionally and personally. It all happened at the same time.
Yeah.
So professionally, I was in the dumps.
Yeah.
Personally, I just had a very public break-off.
Yeah.
And I was literally in depression. And I went into this whole why me kind of, self-pitying mode. And my mom, I always say my mom's my hero. One day she just took me with her. She's been working for 35 years now with patients who are fighting cancer in the final stages of life.
Wow.
Just making their last days more comfortable, getting them something to eat, fulfilling their little wishes. She does this. She's an angel. I mean, she's been doing this for 35, 40 years almost. I went with her to Tata Memorial Hospital, and she took me into the pediatric ward to see these kids.
Very
9, 10, 11-year-old kids, no hair, bloodshot eyes, dealing with leukemia, dealing with all kinds of cancer. And the two things I learned that day changed my life. The first thing I learned was how blessed I am to be an actor. Because I didn't need to do anything. I just walked in and they looked at me and smiled. Can you imagine the blessing that God's given me? All of us, when you walk into a place, people smile. They look at you and they smile. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to say nothing. Imagine the power of that. And I said, I'm going to use this power. I'm going to use it for good. And the second thing I learned was, I have no right to complain about my problems. This 9-year-old kid has cancer and is still smiling and is making conversation with me. He's not coming and crying and say, look at me and pity me. No. Then why am I doing that? I walked out of there wiser and stronger that day. And the one thing I've stopped doing in my life is, I don't subscribe to fear. I fight fear every single time. Every single time fear comes, I face it and I move on. I believe that fear does nothing good for you. It only stops you from achieving things. Try it out. What's the big harm in failing? If you fail, you fail. I failed multiple times. I'm still around. People wrote obituaries to my career 14 years ago. I really think I have the Guinness Book of World Records record for most amount of obituaries to his career. He's finished. He's staring down the abyss. It's all over for Vivek Oberoi. And then something else happens. Then I do a show again that gets an Emmy nomination. Then I go out and sweep some awards.
That was a very interesting decision by you. So, there was a time, not now, but say about 15 years back, when it's a come down from film to do any other,
absolutely,
medium. Sure. So for you to do that Inside Edge...
Why 15 years back, Salil? 5 years back. I mean, when I did Inside Edge, I mean, just to address what you were saying, all my well-wishers called and said, are you crazy? You're going to do a web series. It's all but over. And I said, you don't understand. This is the medium of the future. This is where the youth connects. I watch stuff, on international OTT platforms, on Indian ones. And I knew that this is the future. And when Farhan Ritesh, Karan Anshuman met me with Inside Edge and Vikrant Dhawan, I heard them out. And they were like, you've been a lead man. It's too dark for you, I guess, the character. Is that the problem? I was like, no. My problem is it's not dark enough. Let's go all out. Let's push it further. And I had so much fun doing that. It was a reinvention in terms of a whole new approach for a whole new medium.
So there was no trepidation at all, no, shit, have I done the right thing at all?
No, Salil, I told you I don't subscribe to fear. I have no place in my life for fear. No fear. I'm trying to teach my kids that.
But then you must also have very little space to say that, oh, the incredible success or incredible failure also, then that also must not have too much of an effect.
So I truly believe, okay, so they were successful. We were really successful. The first show to win an Emmy nomination, great. What did it do? It empowered us to get 2 seasons sanctioned, greenlit by Amazon, which is very cool of them to do so, to believe in us. And now, even before season 2 releases, on the 24th of May is the release of PM Narendra Modi. And on 24th, I start shooting for season 3 of Inside Edge.
Oh, I didn't know that was the third season starting.
Yes, third season starting on 24th of May. I start shooting that. And even before the release of season 2, we'll have finished and shot season 3.
You got a fiery director. I remember he made this movie Bangistan and he fought with me on Twitter because I was dissing the movie out at that point of time. I was going, you came in 5 minutes late. I said, if I'd walked in 45 minutes late, I still wouldn't have liked it. And then, one day, I'm going like, bloody hell. His Inside Edge has got an Emmy nomination. He also reinvented himself a lot.
Absolutely.
Again, for, as directors.
Because he stopped wasting his time defending his work. We don't defend our work. You like my film, you don't like my film. You like my art, you don't like my art. Move on, create the next one. And that's what the whole journey is all about. Enjoy it.
He's reached a plane which is tough to, not so easy to go, especially from the heady Mount Everest zone that he was in not so long back. So I have to say this, before we go into a break, that there really was no bigger star at the time when he was doing the Satya and the, even this role of Chandu, because nobody could expect that, you'd be able to do such diverse roles and you do various other characters and eventually reach a stage where you're going, my God, what else is there to achieve? So much different has happened in the last few years with Vivek Oberoi. Now, PM Narendra Modi at the center of the storm. My God, I haven't seen him defend, not So here he defended his choice. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. All right, you're back on Star Stock with the one and only Vivek Oberoi. It's almost like we've grown up watching him, and he's also grown up while we've been watching him. But my God, what a transition in PM Modi. You are at the epicenter of the storm with the election commission, the people, the warring parties, and it has become a war. It is this year has been perhaps, I think we've all been witness to something that we haven't seen earlier. Awareness has increased, social media is
Sure,
there.
yes.
Everyone seems to have an opinion on Vivek Oberoi. You didn't seem flustered at all, and you weren't sitting on candy floss interviews like this. Some of them were very vehemently criticizing you. They delayed your film.
Sure, yes.
You were facing a lot of big names. You were facing judgments.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a rather big pill to swallow, wasn't it?
Yep. I spent the past couple of months courting the opposition.
Yeah.
In about 4 or 5 high courts, a Supreme Court, and the election commission. It was quite funny, actually. I always wanted my film to have a good release, a proper premiere. Everybody's worked so hard on the film to come out there and see it with their friends and family. And here we were premiering the film at the election commission for 9 guys who I didn't know, and who were just, nitpicking on my film to take it apart. And the interesting thing is, I remember when they came out and I knew what the decision was going to be, I said, okay, whatever the decision is, as a creative person, just tell me, did you like the film? And that was my first instinct. And it was so funny. I mean, they said something off the record, so I shouldn't repeat what they exactly said. But whatever they said made me so happy. So I said, despite the fact that you're, banning my film undemocratically, I believe, I still was happy that, okay, at least when I said they gave me a positive response to, did you like the film?
But you must have expected that also. I mean, everyone said it's not about the film. It's about you jumping on that bandwagon of the wave of the election.
It was not just that. It was so many things. There was, this film has been politically funded.
Yeah, that of course.
BJP stooge. It's a propaganda movie.
I have to also tell you that he's a bit rich also. Yeah, he's done quite a bit of work. It's not like you can say that. It's that part people seem to forget because they think that you've been out of sight for a bit. No, there's a lot of people that have done work. But it was obviously, you knew that you were stepping into incredibly hot water.
I did, and like I said, that it's all about being fearless and going out there and facing it all. That didn't bother me. What bothered me was I felt let down with the way the system worked. Right? I felt that it was easy if a few political parties decided that they wanted to go after me, despite the fact that I didn't flout a single model code of conduct norm. They could drag me to high court after high court. I was winning in the high courts. They dragged me to Supreme Court. And it was interesting because at some point, even with an oral submission in high court, the EC said, look, we're cool as long as the CBFC gives them the certification, and we've told CBFC, keep model code of conduct in mind when you give them the certification. We had our certificate. We were censored and clear. The night before our release.
Yes, I know. So, I reached the theatre to watch your film.
Exactly.
And as I walked into PVR at that time, they said, there's a new message that's come and we can't play it.
Yeah. The night before the release, at the eve of the premiere, when all of our guests, friends like you were coming to watch and share the success of what we had finally done, put together, they clamped down and they shut our film down. That was really strange. I was wondering who pressed what button. How did this happen overnight? How did this suddenly happen? Just hours before the film goes out there, you shut us down. Then the next thing was I went back to the EC and I said, okay, at least allow me to continue playing my promotion. They shut us down on that. Yeah. Then I went back to saying that, look, where the model code of conduct does not apply, say, for example, by the second and third phase of elections, say Gujarat, Maharashtra, they were over. There's no MCC applied here. Let me, at least promote there. But they didn't respond to that. So those were the things that made me doubt a body that I had a lot of respect for in terms of integrity. I felt that if we crumble under political pressure and, if fundamentals and principles are only for convenience, that, we don't want to handle this pressure, then what's the point of it all? So I was pretty let down with that.
I think not everybody wanted to fight Vivek Oberoi's fight at that point, but just the subject is such an intriguing subject. I've spent years reading. I love reading. I read a lot of political books. And I think after Indira Gandhi, this our current Prime Minister, Modi, has been the most read up, people who we've known. I've done lots of videos for elections. You know what when I was out on the streets, they said, at least we know what he's doing.
Right.
So I said, so you're saying that marketing bit worked? He said, yeah, but you put on Instagram as well what you do, right? I said, okay, you're right. And a lot of people, so I've done a lot of videos, more than any other anchor for the elections.
Really?
I've done lots and lots and lots of videos. And I remember I've been speaking to various people and I realized that there was not a single person that wasn't in A, awe of him, B, had a difference of opinion of the party, but of him as a person. There was a lot of people that sort of were waiting for this night from not so, from different backgrounds.
Sure.
When you were doing your research also, written material is not so much available. Yes, we know what we've heard and what we've been told. How did you prepare to play Prime Minister Narendra Modi while he is still Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
And that was the challenge.
Yeah.
When you do a figure that's historical, somebody that's 100 years ago, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I had an advantage where, I've known Modi ji since he was CM in Gujarat.
Yeah.
I've seen his journey from becoming CM to Prime Minister. I've understood his vision, his ideas, his politics. I've had exposure to that. I've watched him closely. I've observed him closely. And hours of footage, maybe over 1,000 hours of footage of old speeches, of things that happened in his life, everything that's recorded. Went through all of that. Long process of writing, even though we shot the film in record time, we shot the film in 39 days. Yeah. But hours and hours of footage, watched it, prepared for months on end. One interesting aspect was, when we were doing prosthetic, everybody said, yaar, bahar se kisi ko leke aao, get the guy who did Winston Churchill, all of that. And I said, no. He's all about making India. Yeah. Let's back our own talent. And we did, and we're really happy. I remember the first time, Salil, I sat like in a dentist chair, and they put all this silicone and gum and everything on my face, and it went on for almost 8 hours. And 8 hours later, with a sore back, feeling stiff as hell, I get up, I look at myself in the mirror. There's a 10-second silence. Everybody's waiting to hear what I say. And I said, this is crap. We got to do it again.
Wow.
And we had to repeat that process 15 times till we got it right. And when we got it right, though, it was amazing. It was really exciting.
But was it tough to do his mannerisms? You're very much a method actor.
Yes, I am.
You do get into the skin of... And you're a big guy.
Yes.
Modi sir is also a pretty broad gentleman.
56 inch ki chhati.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but even otherwise also, he's a big guy.
Yes.
Was it tough to sort of copy the mannerisms, the way he speaks? You see, now, the way he speaks, his pauses, all those kind of things.
The difficult part, Salil, is... So, of course, the first time I did a test, I also went into that zone. I said, bhaiyon aur behnon, mitron, I did all of that. And then I realized that ye to pura mimicry lagega. It'll look like we're making fun. And, the situation is that you have intense moments, you have, really serious moments in the film. It's a powerful film. So I said, I can't do this. And the problem is that with him, he's such an iconic personality, such a huge icon that he has so many people doing mimicry of him all the time. Yeah. So I wanted to stay away from anything that was mimicry. So it was a fine balance. I said, okay, keep the voice my own. But let's get his leheja. Let's get his tone, his rhythm of speaking. Let's get, like for example, he doesn't say hazar, he says hajjar. Which is a very Gujarati way of saying it. Yeah. So bring in all those little things, bring those colors in. He loves to sit a certain way. He has a crooked finger on his lips when he's thinking. When he walks, his feet are slightly outward. Generally when he's
so
thinking
did you have a body
walking,
coach also on set that, sort of...
No, I had to be my own body coach. I had to observe, watch every single time he was doing something. Even before every shot, I used to watch all his videos. I used to take inspiration from that, and then I used to go on and do it. I used to build the rhythm of every dialogue after watching how he did it. So that was the whole process. But what was difficult was the strength he has in his eyes. No amount of acting can bring that. And I was really, really struggling with it. I was thinking, ye kaise launga? The chamak jo hai aankhon mein, how do I bring this sparkle? And I realized that it's only discipline that can bring you that. And I remembered him telling me that, Vivek, no matter what time I sleep, I wake up at 4, I do my pranayam, I live this kind of a life. So for about 5 months before we started shooting, I went into that zone. I was up at 4 every morning. I was doing my pranayam, yoga, meditation, and then post that, go out there and seize the day, right? Whether I slept at 1, whether I slept at 2 in the morning, it didn't matter. 4 a.m. I had to be up. It was difficult to do that discipline, but I brought it in. I went sattvic, so I'm vegetarian, but I even avoided onion, garlic, all of those kind of things, right? So I tried to get into that zone completely. And I remember when we first shot our poster, before the poster launched on 8th of January, I went to meet Dugu, Ritik. So I sat with Ritik and I was like, Ritik, I want to show you something. So I showed him the image on my phone of the poster, and he looked at it and he was like, no, that's you? I was so happy because there was so much of negativity and trolling about, oh, he can never look like him. And then people were stunned with the transformation. And what I loved most was he looked into my eyes and he said, how did you get that look? How did you get that strength, that power in your eyes? And I gave him the biggest hug. I said, it's taken me 5 months.
You know,
get that expression.
There's going to be so much of chat when it does come out. It'll be just after the results would have been announced. Just before we go, you know, there are similarities in your life and Mr. Modi's life as well. No matter what you did, you had doubters.
Right.
No matter how much you achieved, you could get 5 national awards. They'd still be doubting certain things about you. And a lot of that was with him also. Is that, would you say, is one of the biggest similarities between Narendra Modi and Vivek Oberoi, that you're constantly having to prove yourself no matter what?
Yeah, I'd like to think that. I always tell people out there who are watching, because, you know, there are people who are trying to stop you every single field of life, wherever you are, whatever work you have. There are people who will try to stop you, discourage you. I always say that no matter how many people try to break you, tell them, I'm unbreakable. I will do what I have to do. I will move forward. And that's the only way, you know, that's the only way that you can go out there and make something matter, you know, make meaning of your life. By truly doing what you want to and what you believe in, rather than constantly saying, Arey, if I don't do what they want me to do, then I'll get blasted.
Yeah.
Don't be a puppet. Make your own mind.
He's not at all a puppet, man. That's part has completely come across. I wonder when you're sending the CD across, I mean, or these days just the link across to Mr. Modi. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe in the second week or the ending of this month, is he going to get a look at it?
My lips are sealed.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much for joining me.
Always.
Vivek Oberoi, as usual. Like I said, different avatars. A fascinating story he always has. And so many fascinating little snippets or anecdotes that he's given of his early life as well. This is one film that I really want to watch, and half of India really wants to watch. What is this movie? Why so much of charcha? And was it worth it? We'll all find out on the 24th of this month. Till the next time, take care, and we'll see you soon.